Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Celente, and here we are, one day after Independence Day, July 4th, or what used to be Independence Day. And we have with us a man who really knows about the true meaning of independence and what the founding fathers of the United States believed in, with a thing called, first it began with the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And now happiness is a dirty word, as is life and liberty. And a man that knows the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and I say it over and over again. I'll put him up against anybody in America or around the world to really talk about the truth of what the founding fathers believed in and what they fought for. And Judge, it's one day after Independence Day. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Gerald. Independence Day, of course, marks the beginning of the last just and moral war that Americans fought, which was a war to secede from a tyrant, King George III.
Yep. And as you said, the last war, how many we fought since then?
Oh, God. Probably, if you count all of them, well into the hundreds. Most people could only name a half dozen or so. But they were all wars of opportunity or wars of empire. The only moral one was the revolution.
Yep. And again, look what they did to the Native Americans, you know, how they slaughtered, about 13 million of them or something?
Right.
And violated every agreement that they made with them.
Right.
So you have an article about Independence Day 2023, and this opening line really says it great. Quote, which is better, to be ruled by one tyrant 3,000 miles away, or by 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? And this is Reverend Mather Byles, 1706. He lived to 1788.
So he was a loyalist in Britain. He didn't fight with the king or against the American militias or against Washington. He was just warning about the dangers of too much democracy. It was almost prescient because within 15 years of that line, the following line would come out of the mouth of the author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson. When the public learns that the public treasury has become a public trough, they will only send to the government people who promise to bring home the biggest piece of the pie. So what Blythe was saying, a not well-known preacher with a very famous uncle, Cotton Mather, in the New England Protestant evangelical circuit at the time. What he was saying was, which is worse for human liberty, to be ruled by one tyrant or to be ruled by the tyranny of the majority? Because once the majority finds out that they can take liberty and property from the haves and give it to the have-nots, they will continue to do so under all types of guises and deceptions. And that, of course, is exactly what we have today.
What are you talking about? Hey, I'm the governor of New Jersey. I'm the governor of New York. I'm the governor of California. Close down your business. Get back in your house. Get out of school and go home. Oh, is that the tyrants he was talking about?
Those are the popularly elected tyrants. And because we have voted for them, although you and I didn't vote for any of those that you just mentioned, but because a majority of those who voted for them, there is an aura of authenticity to their tyranny. So which is worse, the tyranny of the majority or the tyranny of a madman? At some point, a madman sleeps. At some point, his cupidity and his avariciousness is fulfilled. But the tyranny of the majority never ceases. The majority always wants more and more and more from the haves to give to the have-nots, because by getting the have-nots to rely on the largesse of the government, they get the votes of the have-nots and they stay in office. And that's really their principal goal is to stay in power.
Well, I would say it's both sides because you have the power of the one, too. Hey, I'm little Georgie Bush. My daddy was George Bush. My granddaddy was Prescott Bush. I'm the president of the United States. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. I want that guy Assad out of there. Always has a Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama. I want that guy Gaddafi out of there.
The Congress, because
it's the one that's doing it as well. They've given the
correct.
We got both. We got tyranny from the top and the bottom.
You're exactly right, because the Congress doesn't give a damn about the Constitution, and the Congress is afraid of being voted out of office if they make hard choices. So they slowly cede away their power to the president. The War Powers Resolution, which I wrote back last week, lets the president fight any war he wants without a declaration of war from the president. It's profoundly unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has ruled right on point that Congress can't give away its authority to another branch any more than the president could give his away being commander-in-chief of the military to the Supreme Court. It just simply can't be done, but Congress does it and gets away with it. And Congress has turned the president into a prince, whether you take Barack Obama or George W. Bush, or go all the way back to FDR, who signed an executive order saying, surrender your gold. Give us your gold. Yeah. I just ordered it. And people began to turn in their gold until somebody said to FDR, well, you can't order it. You got to pay for it. Or give us your gold for $25 an ounce. And what did the feds do with it? They sold it for $35 an ounce.
Yep.
I mean, this is just tyranny at the highest sort because the Congress has permitted it and authorized it. And then the power that the Congress in the 1933 gave to FDR is still there for Joe Biden to use today. And it's the same with Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower and JFK right up to Joe Biden. In every era, the Congress gives more authority to the president, making him or her more and more like a prince or a princess.
Well, of course he is. Every time these clowns go anywhere, they roll out a red carpet for him, and all the little boys and girls in their military drag salute. They are. Again, we are ruled by one tyrant, and we're ruled by 3,000.
Well,
what the guy said, it's both sides right now. And
correct.
You go on to say, this is really very, I read this and I really want you to talk about this. No liberty-minded thinker I know of seriously argues today in favor of hereditary monarchy. Well, again, we have it when you look at the Bushes and one after another. It's one big club and you ain't in it. Little Andy Cuomo, the list goes on. But many of us are fearful of an out-of-control democracy, which is what we have in America today. I say tyranny because there remain in our federal structure a few safeguards against runaway federal tyranny, such as the equal state representation in the Senate, the Electoral College, the state control of federal elections, and life-tenured federal judges and justices. And then you go on to say, of course, the Senate, as originally crafted, did not consist of popularly elected senators. Rather, they were appointed by state legislators to represent the sovereign state as states, not the people in them. Could you explain that?
So James Madison's genius was to construct a federal table with three sides. At one side was the president, the concept of nationhood or statehood. On the second side was the people in the House of Representatives. On the third side were the states. Remember, as Ronald Reagan said in his first inaugural address, the states formed the federal government and not the other way around. The federal government existed when each of the 13 states ceded away a little bit of their authority to the federal government. By the way, if I had been the drafter of that speech for him, I would have added the following line. And the power that the states voluntarily gave to the federal government, they can take back. That line is not in there, but if I drafted it, I would have pressed him to add that line. When Woodrow Wilson and the progressives in that era, Republicans and Democrats, Teddy Roosevelt was as much a proponent of this as was Woodrow Wilson, voted for the 17th Amendment to make the senators popularly elected. It became a glorified House of Representatives. It didn't represent the states as sovereign states. It was just a House of Representatives all over again, but for 6 years instead of 2. So the needs of the states, their recognition as sovereign entities, their ability to nullify federal behavior inconsistent with the federal Constitution, all of that went away like that with that amendment.
Wow. You have so much in this article, and this will be out tomorrow. And again, for more information, you go to the judge's channel, and it's Judging Freedom. And he has great interviews. www.judgenap.com.